this 24/7. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And for the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with prim and proper sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. And that's just a sampling. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. For laptops, mobile phones, and tablets, download the Roku app. National Streaming Sports, live and on demand, sports talk for America.
This show is brought to you by BetUS.com. 125% off your first 3 deposits, 30 years experience, secure site, wagering for all sports, including during the games and futures. SeatGeek provides you the best prices on sports and music events, game tickets, and concerts. Use NSS promo code to get $20 off your first ticket. Keep using the NSS promo code when purchasing tickets for great deals in the future. In Fanatics at nessp.info for your favorite teams, sportswear. Click on the link, and while you're there, check out our national streaming sports merchandise. Well, Big Bobby G.
Hey, Mac, how are you?
Monday. What's going on?
Yeah, well, another tough Sunday after, so Monday follows it.
Yes, it does.
That was painful to really get into the game right away. That was a painful game to watch. I don't care if you're a Bengals fan or a Giants fan. That was an ugly game. 17-7, it was a 10-7 game. Basically, right, until 3 minutes to go. And somehow, some way, the Giants are scoring less than 15 points a game.
Yes.
In today's NFL, I don't care who the coach is. I don't care who the quarterback is. I don't care how great your offensive line is, what position players you have to get the ball to. If you can't score more than 15 points a game, you are not going to win a lot of games in this league at this juncture. That's just the way the league's set up. It's set up right now for the pass. It's set up for scoring. It's set up for fans to enjoy themselves, to watch shootout games. Not with the Giants, though. With the Giants, you sit there and you want to fall asleep after the second quarter's over. I don't know what else to say. But the frustration you can hear in my voice is at a fever pitch right now. Daniel Jones was back to the Daniel Jones we saw a few weeks back, opening day. The receivers can't get open. The running backs are, Tracy had a good day, but 50 yards on the ground is not going to make it. Now you can say, he caught 51 yards, so he had over 100 yards, all-purpose yards. Okay, that's respectable. But that's all we had yesterday. And the Giants have now scored one touchdown, this year at home. Congratulations. Yeah. I don't know how you expect to win football games when you're at home, you're 0-3, and you score one touchdown.
So, I'll give you a little stats here just to go with what you're saying, Bob. Jones has spread the ball around quite a bit to a bunch of receivers. But, when you get down to the red zone, this is where you've got to score points. Whether I don't care if it's running the ball, and we did get one touchdown, or it's passing the ball. And, the pressure on Jones, I mean, he did get hit when he was throwing that one pass trying to go out the back of the end zone. But he also had Tracy open in the flat, and he didn't throw it. He held it. And I think, he's running the ball well. I think he led the team in rushing. I think he had like 56 yards.
He did.
But the point is that's great. I mean, I'm glad you can run the ball. I'm glad you're a good runner of the ball. But when you keep getting hit, it's got to affect your accuracy when you're going back to throw the ball, right? I mean, he didn't get in a rhythm at all, hardly at all yesterday. There was, I mean, he like I said, they did go the length of the field a couple of times. And then when they did get down there,
an interception. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And when he did get down there, then we got a kicker that, again, this is the second time this season, who can't make a field goal. And it's not like it was a 60-yard field goal, Bobby. It was close. I mean, one was almost a point after, pretty much. And you've got to make those field goals. And then we're tied. And then here we go. I mean, we have a chance at overtime or maybe to win the game at the end. And I think what the ball does, he plays it close to the vest. He's happy with just staying within striking distance instead of taking the lead, going after it. And when he gets down to the red zone, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, you got to score, as you're saying, and you got to keep scoring. You don't get 7 and then be happy with a field goal and another field goal. And I mean, you got to pour it on when you get a chance. Now, Cincinnati's defense played pretty well. I got to give them credit. They did put pressure on Jones. Jones was running around a little bit, running for his life a couple of times. So, I mean, I'm not going to take nothing away from the Cincinnati Bengals defense, but I still think about Jones got sacked, twice yesterday, I think. I think that's when he got sacked was twice. And it's still not that much from what he was getting sacked before. So the line, again, is still playing pretty well. That's the end of right now. He hears me talking about him. He calls me every time I start talking about him. But anyway, no, I mean, the offense has just got to play better. We're going to play the Eagles next. We'll get to that later in the show. The offense has got to play a lot better. And that's all there is to it. What do you think about the defense, Bob?
So on the flip side, the defense did everything that they needed to do to win a football game. I can't say his name right. Algieri had a heck of a game. A heck of a game. Hit a couple sacks. He had a couple quarterback hits. He was making plays. Burns on the other side also making plays. That game yesterday was everything the Giants wanted when they made that trade for Burns in the offseason. He had a heck of a game. Dexter again had another sack. So Dexter Lawrence is playing well. But you know who, with the pleasant surprise, for me, the most pleasant surprise on the defense is the defensive backs. Yes. They played against two very, very good wide receivers in Higgins and in Chase. Held both of them under 100 yards. As a matter of fact, no receiver yet has gone over 100 yards against the Giants defense. So the defensive backs, young, we weren't sure about them. I know even they were at the waiver wire. They were looking maybe at the end of preseason. Maybe we need to bring some other, maybe some other talent in here, to see maybe where we can get better. That's kind of our Achilles heel. It hasn't been at all since the season started. Pleasantly surprised with how the defensive backs are playing. I know the rookie, the new rookie that we have who plays inside in the slot. He's having a heck of a year. So the safety who we drafted, Nubin, he's having a heck of a year. So the Giants have brought in some talent from this year's draft, and it's already showing on the defensive side of the ball. I thought the way that they played, and as the game went on, and we got into the fourth quarter, I don't know about you, but I was thinking we need to make a play on defense to win this game. I don't know if was it a strip sack? and they'll pick it up and run it back, maybe run back an interception. I just didn't have confidence in the offense to win that game yesterday. As the game went on, I thought that the defense was going to have to really shoulder the load of this game and win it for us. Yeah. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Yeah, they did get a couple fumble recoveries, but they didn't pick it up, and they gave the ball right back to the offense. One of those plays that Ajuri, or I'm not sure exactly how to say his name either.
Algieri
or Algebra. He went to strip Burrows. He hit him, and then he tried to strip him, and he looked for the ball. Well,
he thought it was out. Yeah, he did. He thought it was out.
Lo and behold, Burrows still has the ball, and he throws the ball away. That was a huge play. If he had sacked him there, that would have been fourth down from there. I'm not taking nothing. I'm nitpicking a little bit, right? But that wasn't too smart. You got to secure him, and you don't let him go, which he did. So that was a play that we should have had. But overall, I mean, Deonte Banks against Higgins. I mean, listen, Burrows didn't throw for a touchdown. I don't know if that's the first time in a long time or not. He threw for only 208 yards. I mean, that's not Joe Burrows. Joe Burrows has been throwing for 400 yards and 307 yards, 3-4 touchdowns a game. I mean, they shut down their offense. They literally shut it down. And if it wasn't for that one run by Burrows, right? I mean, yards.
Did you see how that alignment was when they showed it from the end zone? It looked like there was two Giants on the right-hand side of the offense, and the rest of the team was on the other side. Yes. And I don't know if that was just somebody was out of place, or I don't know what they saw it on film that they thought that was going to go to that side of the defense, but it was too easy, and that was a bad breakdown. Now I'm nitpicking too, because that was a very bad breakdown on the defensive side of the ball.
Listen, I don't think you're nitpicking at all, because that was the score, right? And Joe Burrows is not known for his running. That was his longest of his career. But there was literally nobody there. Once he got the end, went outside, it was wide open all the way down the field. And Bobby, when you do something like this, and talk about coaching for a scheme for a second, if you're going to do that, then you run a cross, right? You run a stunt where the other defense lineman comes around and he comes up on the left side, right? So to kind of confuse them and confuse Burrow. They didn't do that. And I don't know why they didn't do that, right? I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. So if that was actually a scheme or a play that the coach called, they didn't do it again, as you noticed, for the rest of the game. That didn't happen again. No. But if he did call that play, that was a boneheaded play. And maybe a defensive lineman did miss what he was supposed to do. I don't know. But if he did scheme that, I would have had if I was the ball, I would have had, or Dable, I would have had a word with him or two. But again, they didn't do it for the rest of the game. So, hats off to the defense, man. I mean, they played their asses off, and they deserved to win that game, and they never stopped. One thing about the Giants under Dable, they never quit. I don't care if you lose every game. That team comes to play every week. And it was that way last year, when they ended up winning, 5-4 of the last 6. It's still this year, same way. And Dable did say, it's all on me, man. So, I mean, I got to respect that.
A team that's scoring, you got to remember, dude, so the Bengals came in the last 3 weeks averaging 33 points a game. And we were talking last week about who do you like. And I liked our defense against them when we were talking about who and I liked the Giants in this game. I really did. I thought the Giants could beat them. Unfortunately, they didn't. But hats off to the defense. Took a team that's been averaging 33 points a game. Shouldn't have scored 17, but what the heck that was garbage time. It was a garbage time type of a score anyways. So to really hold them to basically 23 less points than they've been scoring the last 3 weeks in a row against some really good teams too. I mean, they had a shootout with the Ravens a week or so ago. So I mean, and the Ravens ended up coming on top of that game. But I thought the Bengals were going to win that game. I was watching the end of that game, and it was fun to watch. So those are fun games to watch, Mac. Not Giant games who score 10 points.
Even Burrows in his press conference after that, he said that team has some really good, outstanding players on the other side. He even gave them their due too. So listen, Bobby, they're 2-4. The season's not over for sure. They're going to go against a lot of good teams coming up. But guess what? With that defense, they're in every game. It's just a matter of the offense getting their stuff together. So again, it's hard to say moral victories because you are what you are. But if you're going to take anything away from that game, you're going to say you're going to be in every game for the rest of the way going on, because there is not a better receiver tandem in the league. And I don't care. You can say Eagles. You could talk whatever you want to talk about. There is not a better receiver tandem in the league than Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. There's not.
I agree. That's you. The Giants had their hands full, and they rose to the occasion on the defensive side of the ball. Unfortunately, the offensive side of the ball continues to struggle, continues to I don't know. And Dable is the offensive genius, and he's supposed to be this great quarterback guru, and he's supposed to be this great exotic play caller. I don't see it, but it's early. But I don't see it. You know what's going to happen here is we're gonna 3 games in a row, and then we're gonna be. Huh? I'm sorry. We're going to win like 3 games in a row. We're back, and then we're going to lose. It's like 4 or 5 in a row. Maddening.
That's a bad attitude, Bobby. You have a bad attitude. I'm just letting you know that very straight up. I mean, this is our Homer show, Bobby. We got to be honest.
No one bleeds blue more than myself. And I've been watching these guys for a long time. And I went through some really, really rough periods during my tenure being a Giants fan. So I remember when they won the Super Bowl in '86, I was at a party and I stood up in a chair and said, I can die now. So that's
yes. Not knowing that they would win 3 more, right?
Yeah, I know. So, that was awesome.
Yeah. Right, so you never know. So, folks, got a little Giant trivia for you. So, let's see which running back leads the Giants all time in rushing TDs. So, I'm not going to give you the answer, Bobby. I mean, you can think about it. You might be right. You might be wrong. But we'll revisit this at the end of the show.
Okay.
Again, what Giant running back is the leader in touchdowns and touchdown history for the New York Giants? Rushing touchdowns.
Hmm.
There you go. So there's a few that will probably pop in your head.
I got 4 or 5 in my head, but I'm not sure which one it would be.
Right? Good. So the trivia question is going to work. I'm glad. And please don't blurt it out while we're doing other segments this time, Bobby. I mean,
like I did last week.
Take it easy.
I might get excited and remember it though, and just say it.
I know. Hopefully, you didn't drink a lot of coffee today. All right.
No, just this morning.
All right. So let's do our player spotlight. And for those of you who don't know, the Giants of the 70s. Here we go. Wow. What the hell is that? Bobby, where'd you go? Oh, there you are. All right, here we go. My board is playing tricks on me right now. I'm trying to bring up the guy that we were going to talk about that was up there in the beginning of the show. What is wrong with my board? I
see him. I got him.
All right. Well, it may pop out while we're. Oh, is he coming? All right, you got him? All right, he hasn't appeared on my board yet. So maybe. Okay. All right, good. So there he is. Holy Jesus. Bob Tucker, he was a Giants tight end for during the 70s for quite a while. He was there with Fran Tarkenton, was the quarterback. He left to go with the Vikings. He followed Fran Tarkenton over there after a few years, ended up going to a playoff game with him. But there's a lot of things about Bob Tucker that a lot of people don't know. Bobby, why don't you fill him in?
So he's a very interesting type of ball player and how he got to the Giants. So he went to a small college in Bloomsburg, the famous Bloomsburg University, where he set a lot of receiving records at a small school. He unfortunately went undrafted and actually started his career playing semi-pro football.
Right.
It was a team in Philly, and I can't remember the last name of it, but and this was in 1969. When he wasn't playing football, he was a high school teacher, and I believe he taught by I want to say it was some type of math. I wasn't eligible, but he was some type of math teacher.
Okay.
And he did that as his full-time job. And a lot of people who played semi-pro ball back then had to have a real job.
Right.
His real job was being a teacher. And he was so good at semi-pro ball that he was actually signed as a free agent by the Philadelphia Eagles as a member of they called it then the taxi squad.
Right.
And that was after the 69 season. The 70 season, he would leave Philadelphia and sign with the New York Giants. And he would become our starting tight end. Now, tight ends, you think of them now as 6'6", 6'5", 270 pounds, and a good blocking tight end, maybe a little smallish, 250, 245 on the receiving tight ends in today's football. Well,
Right.
Bob could do both, but he was only 235 pounds. And he could block with the best of them, and he could catch with the best of them also. He became an All-Pro with the Giants. In 1971, he was the first tight end in NFL history to lead the league in receiving catches.
Yes. Yeah.
So he went on to have a great year, as you said, a great career with the Giants. As you said, he left the Giants. Fran was traded to the Vikings. He went back. He was able to reunite with Fran Tarkenton, his quarterback with the Giants, and they actually went on to win some playoff games together. Unfortunately, both were not able to get that Super Bowl trophy.
Right. And he did play. He played for the Pottstown Firebirds was the first team he played for. He went out to play with the Lowell Giants, which is right up here in Massachusetts, right in between us, as a matter of fact. Listen, Bob Tucker was I remember watching him play. I remember making some big catches. And as you said, he did make a Pro Bowl appearance, and he did lead the league in receptions as a tight end. And that's something that, maybe Kittle can do now or Kelsey could do. But he did it way back then. And that's two pretty good names to be mentioned with, right? I mean, if you're talking, the tight ends of today, a little smallish, but tough as nails. And, he's one of the first players, or maybe the only player to play in 4 different stadiums, right? He played at Yale Bowl. He played at Shea Stadium. He played at Yankee Stadium. And he also played in the New Giant Stadium, New Giant Stadium back then in 76. So he played in 4 different stadiums. He traveled around and then ended up, of course, going to play with Minnesota. Let's see. So interesting enough, and we were talking before the show, and I'll share a little bit with the viewers that'll be here, that are now or that will join us later. Some of the greatest players, all pros, Hall of Fame players, came from semi-pro football. That was the farm system, and they didn't pay them a lot of money. They threw them, maybe they made whatever, a few $100s a year. Like you said, they had to have real jobs.
Yes,
but you had some really good players like Johnny Unitas and Marv Hubbard that played semi-pro, some offensive linemen that played on a lot of different NFL teams, including the 69 Jets Super Bowl team. There's 2 linemen that was there with Joe Namath. Ernie Coy played for the Cleveland Browns and the Washington Redskins. I know that for a fact. And we were talking, I still can't remember his name. I probably should have looked it up. The Pittsburgh outside linebacker who ended up making a 95-yard interception. I think it's still the longest interception by a linebacker in history. Goes down the field against the Cardinals and scores. And, and then you had Maria, it's Motley's his last name. Cleveland Browns running back before Jim Brown got there. He played semi-pro because at that time, they didn't let black players into the NFL. Now, that was during the 40s and that until, later on, the Cleveland Browns started bringing them in. But they weren't allowed. So a lot of the semi-pro players were black players that played back then. So anyway, I mean, really interesting, the history of semi-pro and where some of these guys fall. But Bob Tucker, a really good tight end. We could use him now, I guess. I don't know.
We could.
we don't like using our tight ends, so maybe they would use them anyway. Maybe you stand around too. But anyway, I don't know, Bobby. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, a really good football player. He's in the Semi-Pro Hall of Fame. He's not good enough to make it into the NFL Hall of Fame for sure.
He had a really good career, but unfortunately, he played on a lot of bad Giants teams.
Right.
I mean, there was a lot of great. We kind of highlighted the last few weeks really great Giants players that if who knows if where their names might be if they played on teams that were playoff teams that sniffed around a Super Bowl. And the people that we've talked about over the last few weeks, and it's been so much fun, as I said to you before the show today, looking them up, researching them, and it's harder to find that little tidbits of information. It seems like in these guys who played in the 70s or the late 60s, and so it's sometimes it's a challenge, which I'm finding it to be a lot of fun because I'm learning things I didn't even know about these guys.
Right, and you know, I mean, to me, I love, like I said before the show too, I love the history of football. I mean, I love history, period. But when it comes to sports, especially football, I mean, you know, I'm looking up things for the memory show and I'm learning something new every day. I think I know everything. But then you go back and say, you're not that brilliant, dude. I mean, you didn't know half the stuff that you're reading right now. So, I mean, it's really enjoyable. So, let's see. Let's push on to our next bit here. And, you know, I mean, we're fair, Bobby. We're homers, but we're fair, right? I mean, we talk about the good and bad and the ugly, and this is one of the ugly ones. Yes. You know, so we're in the worst coaches zone right now, right? I mean, there's been a lot of bad coaches for the Giants over the years. This guy, I mean, he was an interim head coach. You really can't put him in that classification as some of the guys that were a head coaching with the Giants for at least a year as a head coach, right? He got stuck in the last 4 games. He only won one of them. Steve Spagnuolo, we call him Spags. I mean, it's for the Giants, and he is that for the Chiefs right now. And you could say, I mean, and you'd be 100% right. If it wasn't for Spagnuolo and the packages he put in against the Patriots, we probably wouldn't have won that Super Bowl. And you could say same thing about the Chiefs. Maybe the last 2 years, their defense has really won the Super Bowls for them.
I agree. I mean, Spags to me, and unfortunately for Spags, he's been a head coach 4 times. I mean, 4 years. 2 years with the Rams, a year with us, and he was interim head coach. Was it with? There's another team who was interim head coach. I can't remember who it was. Unfortunately, though, for those 4 years that he was a head coach, he never had a winning record. Hell of a defensive coordinator, but he never had a winning record. So he starts off in Philadelphia. He's under Jim Johnson, so he's kind of a protege of Jim Johnson, who loved to attack offenses, loved the blitz, loved to create havoc, you know, in the offensive backfield, and that's kind of where Spags learned his trade in Philly. I believe he was a linebackers coach then, and then Andy Reid the Giants would then come calling and make him their defensive coordinator. In the first year he's with the Giants as a defensive coordinator, we almost went. And this is the year that we ended up winning the Super Bowl, which is kind of strange. But we were on the verge of going 0-3. But I remember we were 0-2, and they were interviewing Justin Tuck and Michael Strahan, and they could not. And we're 0-2 now, and they could not say anything bad about Spagnuolo's approach, his schemes, the way he was coaching them. They were kind of preaching patience because we're going to get this right, and we're going to do this right because he knows what he's talking about.
Right.
And it's the following week, we're in Washington, and we're about ready to go 0-3, and we have a goal line stance. And after that, the rest is kind of history. And to me, this is where Spagnuolo, I think, becomes just right at that moment. Spagnuolo becomes, I think, more of a household name, and maybe he's getting more credit around the NFL. He's getting more credit around not only the Giants players, but other players, other coaches are now scheming against his defense. But that Washington stance was really, on my mind, the play that propelled him to where he is today.
Yeah, I mean, I forget what they call the package. It was either the Cadillac or Ferrari package that he put in, and he actually moves Justin Tuck inside, and you got UC Minura, and you got I'm trying to remember his name that blew his fingers off. He's on the outside, and you got Strahan on the outside, and you can't hold the firecracker in your hand. I just let people know that. Don't do that. Just don't do that.
Silly.
But yes, it is. And it just Brady was on his back almost every play. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but there was tons of pressure put on Brady the whole game. And if you watch the Super Bowls and the championship games when they're going up against the Lamar Jacksons and all these teams that are trying to knock them off, that defense, Chris Jones is a monster, and he's in the middle, and they move him to the end on passing downs. He likes to move people around a lot, and he just wants to get the best matchup he can. And he's a hell of a defensive coordinator. And I could say, you could say all you want about Andy Reid, great coach, one of the best coaches probably ever. He's going to go down as. But Spagnuolo is sort of, I'm not going to compare him to Belichick, because Belichick really was an unbelievable innovator. Spags isn't that far behind, though, Bobby, if you think about it. Right? I mean,
it's funny if Spags gets a head coaching job where unfortunately for him, his defenses were always good. The offense, a lot like the Giants are today, as we're speaking today, his offenses were kind of pedestrian at best. Yeah. His defenses were always competitive, if not one of the better defenses in the NFL, wherever he coached, whether it was a head coach or as a defensive coordinator. He was just snake bit where Belichick, you draft a guy named Tom Brady, and he can maybe put a band on a lot of wounds that you won't see because of his overall play. But Spags never had that opportunity, so who knows where he might have been. And I'm not saying he would have been Bill Belichick, but you never know what type of career a coach has with the right players around him, because you only are as good as the players around you. And when Spags was, unfortunately, now I know Eli was at the tail end of his career. The Giants, when he was their interim head coach, the Giants had offensive line issues up until really this year. But back then, they still had the offensive line issues. Jerry Reese tried. He tried to draft offensive linemen. Or sign offensive linemen. It never seemed to work. And unfortunately, Tom Coughlin and Spags had to kind of try to glue that piece together, which it didn't. It was going to be his Achilles heel, being the Giants' interim coach, was that offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, if he say he was a head coach and he had Ron Earhart or he had Bill O'Brien as his offensive coordinators or offensive assistant coach or whatever, I mean, I think he would have been successful. You look at Brian Flores right now, Bobby, right? I mean, a tremendous defensive coach, was winning at Miami until they made him do things he didn't want to do, and then he sues the league, which is, I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know if anybody's going to. I mean, if you hire him and you fire him, or you don't hire, you get sued. I mean, that was kind of dumb. But he's playing so well right now as a Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator. Who knows? Maybe he gets a shot again.
Yeah, I wouldn't. This is a league that likes to win. Yeah, that puts the fannies in the seats. It makes the concessions more profitable. You name it. Winning football games puts more money in the owner's pocket, and they will swallow their pride a lot to make sure they're going to put themselves in a position to be able to hold that trophy up at the end of the year. So I would think he might get another shot down the road. But here we are with Spagsy, and does he get another shot? He's now Kansas City, a lot of success there. He's my age. He's 60. He's going to be 65 years old this year. Does a 65-year-old head, or should I say, he was a coordinator, an unsuccessful head coach, does he get another shot? What do you think?
Does he want another shot? I mean, I don't know what his.
That's a good question too.
Yeah, I mean, what his pay is, but I mean, if they do get the three-peat, if they do, does he say, okay, I did what I wanted to do and let's push on? So I think it's going to be a hard decision. I mean, you got coaches coming back coaching all the time. And Bill Belichick wants to come back. I would imagine Vrabel wants to come back. I know a lot of coaches that even they retire for a little while. Some just want to be on the sidelines. They may have a career or whatever. They just want to get back and they want to be coaching again. I even interviewed let's see if I can remember his whole name. Coach Bono. He was a former special teams coach, a guru. His special teams had proved to be one of the best everywhere he went. And he was with the Rams the last year. They won the Super Bowl, but he really wasn't there as a coach on the sideline. He was like a special assistant kind of thing. They kind of moved on from him that 1 year that they won the Super Bowl. And I told him, listen, you put in the work, you made the Rams special teams good, and so what they pushed on that 1 year. You had a great career as everywhere you went. He went to like 5 different teams, and their special teams went right to the roof. But he said, if somebody called me right now, I go right back in. And he's older than 65. He's got to be in his late 60s, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
So maybe if someone wants to take a chance on Spags, and who knows, maybe the third time, for the fourth time, the fifth time's a charm. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But he can coach. We know he can coach defense. And maybe you're right. If he surrounds himself with the right offensive minds. Yeah. I don't remember who his coordinator was. Wasn't his coordinator when he was with the Rams? Who was his coordinator? Wasn't it? I don't remember his name. I can see his face, but I don't remember his name. But he was a good coordinator too. But yeah, maybe if he surrounds himself with the right people, the right coaches, you get lucky and you have the right general manager who helps you pick the players. There's so many things. There's so many factors that go into coaching that's more than just X's and O's. That you take care of on the off season and the plans you put in place and the practices that you do in the off season, in the springtime, and what you have to put in place for your team to be successful in the NFL. A lot goes into that, and you really got to make sure that you have the right group. Yeah, and
it's hard to win in football. I mean, teams are so close right now that it's very hard. You saw what happened, and we're going to get into this next. What happened to Dallas? I mean, that was. I expected Detroit to win. I picked them to win. I went 3-0 this week in my top 3. I expected Detroit to win, but I didn't expect to beat them 47-9.
They could have scored 50-something points.
They kind of took their foot off the gas at the end there. I mean, in fact, let's talk about it a little bit. So Dallas, and it wasn't just Dak Prescott, but he was a problem too. I mean, they couldn't run, they couldn't pass, they threw interceptions. The defense was just getting run all over. They couldn't cover anybody. It was just a dominated onslaught performance. I don't know if Dallas gave up or not, but it just looked terrible right on Jerry Jones' birthday. Here's your present head coach. We just got our asses whipped in front of you. And as an owner, what do you do? I mean, it doesn't look like this problem's going to go away. I mean, I know Parsons and one of the linemen, I don't know if it's Leonard or whatever, didn't play.
Right.
But they played before, and they still are up and down, up and down. I don't think the Cowboys make the playoffs this year.
Well, as we've been talking about since we started this, one team is going to come out of the NFC East, just one. And I don't see until it's proven different. It looks like the Commanders are the cream of the crop of our division. Right. Unfortunately, we're at the bottom looking up, but we're only a game or two out of first. But and it's early, and I understand all that. How did the Giants lose to a team that should have got beat by 55 points? That's so. I'm not trying to do revisit history of the Dallas Giant game a week or so ago. It's just that, and I'll never say that they should have won the game. I'll always say they could have won the game because both teams get paid, and they both are putting a strap on the helmet, and they're both going to go out there and give it their all. So anybody can win the game. So I don't believe you should win a game. You could win a game if you make the right plays. Anyways, watching that game yesterday, it just seemed to me that I believe the Lions had their first team out by the beginning of the fourth quarter. So the Lions had their backups in, a backup quarterback, backup running backs, and Dallas those still got their main guys out there, and the Lions are still driving it down their throat. Yeah. So I'm with you. How is that a playoff team? You can't compete with the Detroit Lions backup quarterback and the backup running backs and receivers, and you're a playoff team?
Listen. I mean, normally Dak Prescott will do. They shut down their receiver. I mean, they shut down everything. The Dallas couldn't do anything, and I mean, no, I don't think they're a playoff team. And then we turn to the Eagles and they play the Cleveland Browns, and I mean they win by 4 points, and the Cleveland Browns were in that game. The Browns were in that. They could have won that game. I mean, and I'm not saying by luck. I mean, they got penalized every time they got in the red zone. Deshaun Watson runs in it for a touchdown. It gets called back because of a penalty. I mean, they had the game won. The Eagles look terrible. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Giant fan. I'm being realistic here. And it started back last year where the communication in that locker room, or there's a rift between the quarterback and the head coach and the receiver. I don't know what's going on there, Bobby, but you can tell when they're on the field, it's just everything breaks down. And they got one of the most talented teams in the NFC East. They have the most talented team on paper. On paper, right?
Great wide receivers, and they're both back yesterday. Yeah, and they had their full complement of offensive playmakers.
Yeah,
and I'm not trying to take anything away from Cleveland. Cleveland seems to have a pretty good defense. Their offense struggles a little bit, and I'm sure there's a holding penalty being called right now on their way home on the plane. That's beside the point. So I mean, as you said, every time they seem to get down there was a false start. There's a hold. 2 men in motion. I mean, you go on and on about the offense and the silliness of the calls that they were just. I guess the ref has to call them because you're doing it. So your offense is not playing well. Your defense is pretty good. Cleveland has a pretty good defense. That being said, how do you stop Saquon Barkley and those receivers? If you're the Philadelphia Eagles, shouldn't you be scoring more points right now?
Easily.
You've got three playmakers that any team would be drooling over to have.
Yes. Oh yeah. Wouldn't you love to have AJ Brown and Smith on the Giants right now? Holy God!
Saquon Barkley? Yeah.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Yeah. Jones would be an all-star. He'd been all-pro this year. I mean, I don't understand, and it's I think I talked about this with Jack. I think I've mentioned it to you before too. Talent doesn't win everything. You've got to have that chemistry. There's a lot of talented teams that have not gone to the Super Bowl. And if you look at the Chiefs in the last couple of years, they weren't the most talented team out there, but they had the best chemistry, bar none. They knew what they had to do to win. And if Patrick Mahomes got that ball in the last quarter, even if you were winning, you're going to lose. Because that offense plays together, that defense plays together, and they have a chemistry with the coaching staff and the players, and that's what makes them so dangerous. And that's something the Eagles don't have.
Now, I remember it's funny you're mentioning the the Chiefs. I don't. It wasn't this past Super Bowl, but I think the one before that. They got to the Super Bowl with half their offensive line out.
Yes,
and they still won.
Yeah,
the Giants can't do that. Can you imagine half of our offensive line was hurt going into the Eagle game this week or any game, any week?
Yeah.
What would be our odds of winning that? I mean, we're talking about very, very low odds for us to win that game. Yet the good teams, you just mentioned the good coach teams, the good teams seem to just rise above that. And, next man up mentality, I don't know what it is, but the good teams have that mentality. And I think when the Giants get that, I think that's something we don't have yet. And I think we're close. And when we get that, we're going to be a better football team. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, if you look last year's Super Bowl, who had the most talent on paper? The 49ers or the Chiefs?
Right.
At skill positions, it was the 49ers.
Of course.
They had the McCaffrey. They had Debo. They had, they have Kelsey. I mean, Kittle. I mean, they at all positions, except for maybe a tight end and quarterback, of course.
I'll take Kittle. I mean, he's as good as they come. Yeah.
I mean, that just proves it last year. I mean, San Fran should have won that game. They did on paper, but they did in the final score.
And so getting back to the Dallas Cowboys. So on paper, they're a pretty good football team.
Yes.
So is it the coach? Because that's what they're going to be. I mean, I know Dallas fans are going to be clamoring for a coaching change if this keeps up. What happens next week if they go out and lay an egg again?
I don't think he replaces them in mid-year.
You don't think so?
I don't think he does. He's loyal. Jerry Jones is loyal to a fault when it comes to his coaches. I mean, the last coach he had there, trying to remember his name real quick, the redhead that was a Giant quarterback. Yeah, he was here for 10 years.
Yeah,
500.
And he didn't win. No. He couldn't win playoff games, and he kept bringing them back every year.
If Jerry Jones can control a coach, and the coach is decent, they make it to playoffs, and they're over 500, he'll keep them.
Then they'll I mean, at worst they're a 500 football team. I mean, right. I'm sure they'll be better than that. But at worst, they're a 500 football team at worst. So that would, and there are probably some Dallas fans that would jump off the buildings if they didn't make a coaching change. But
yeah, there would be a lot of upset fans. And back to the Eagles, a lot of people are saying Sirianni's got to go too, and that's the coach that might get fired if he loses 3 or 4 more. He might get that coach over that owner don't play. That owner don't play at all.
Did you see him yelling at the fans yesterday?
Yes.
What is that all? Why? When was the last time you saw an NFL head coach go close to the fans where they're sitting and have an argument with them?
Yes.
I've never seen it.
The Philly Sports guy, as I've said before, is on the network on Coast to Coast, and he was saying that he was yelling at not the Philly fans, but the Brown fans. And the other guy said, no, he was not. There was Eagle. Well, he said, I really didn't see. Well, then what the hell are you saying anything for if you didn't see it? Yes, he was yelling at the Eagle fans. He was telling them to shush because they were booing. And he was telling them to shush because they were making noise when Philadelphia had the ball because they couldn't hear. He's the dude, there's something wrong with him, Bobby.
He's a clown.
He's a clown. Yeah, he is.
So you're right. If a coach would be fired mid-season, he'd probably be at the top of the list.
That owner does not play over there. He'll fire you. He don't care. He'll fire you.
I know. That's true. That's true.
And the last team we talk about is of course the Redskins / Commanders. Really put up a fight against Baltimore. Baltimore is they're a Super Bowl contender. The Commanders gave them everything they could handle. They did end up losing the game, but listen, that's a moral victory to me. You're playing against a Super Bowl contender, and you are there until the fourth quarter. Could have won that if the bounce goes their way. I mean, to me, they showed the NFC at least we're for real.
And as we mentioned earlier, right before the segment started, they're the best team right now in our division. I talk about that rookie quarterback. It seems like every week. I can't say enough good things about them. They make plays. They gave the Ravens, as you said, everything that they could handle. Unfortunately, they came up a little short. But that's a team, Mac, that I'm really nervous about over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
I'm just nervous because their arrow's pointing straight up where, and I think ours is semi pointing up too. I really truly believe that. And I really truly believe that the Eagles and the Cowboys arrows are pointing in the wrong direction.
Well, that brings us to the next game preview. And Bobby, our offense is going to get better. I mean, listen, on defense, we'll control the Eagles. But we got to score some points. The Eagles have a better field goal kicker than we have. I mean, it might be 9-6. We have got to put some points on the board. He can run on Eagles. He can throw on Eagles, and put some pressure on, Hurts, because Hurts is only good for insurance. They're a good rental company, but Jalen Hurts is no good. So listen, our offense has got to play. Our offense has got to. We've got to move the ball. We got to get some scores. We got to get some touchdowns, or we got to get a new field goal kicker. I think maybe we got to do both. Joseph isn't cutting it. I'm sorry. You can't miss field goals in the NFL today. I'll end up losing again, like 10-6 or 13-16. I don't want to see that. We got to beat the Eagles.
Yeah, and I know this is easier said than done. That Giants offense has to start fast this week.
Yes.
I thought they had a nice rhythm when they went that no huddle for a little while yesterday. I wouldn't mind them coming out in a no huddle type of game plan just to get the Eagles off balance a little bit. We got nothing to lose. We need to take chances, and I know Dable took some chances last night. Went for it 4 times on 4th down, 3 out of 4. And we got lucky on one of them because we went on our own 35, 40-yard line, and they ended up fumbling the ball back to us.
Yes.
And I remember sitting there saying, whew, okay, that's good. But we need to take some chances. We need to come out fast. I would love to see the Giants go no huddle right from the beginning. Keep them from bringing in fresh personnel. Get them on their heels fast. Score some points quick. And if we can do that, we might be able to dictate a game instead of the word I'm looking for. I don't think we're dictating games. We're kind of, as we said earlier, we'll get the points later.
Right.
We'll be back here.
Right.
And I don't think that's taking the bull by the horns and dictating the game. And right now, with the Giants' record in last place, we need to take chances. We need to be aggressive. I like our defense. I like the way that I think they can stop the Eagles. I don't think they're going to get rid of the kicker this week. From everything I've read, I don't think they're going to do that, though. Every Tuesday, the Giants do bring a group of players in for a look-see to see what's out there. I would think they'd probably bring a kicker or 2 in just to kind of take a peek and see who's there in case they need to, if not this week, next week, or the week after. So I anticipate them bring a kicker in tomorrow. I wouldn't a couple other positions too, but kicker definitely.
Right.
Additionally, if we could just get the ground game going, run some more slants, I think if we could do that, get them on their heels, start fast, play fast, be aggressive offensively. I know we're going to be aggressive defensively, but we got to be aggressive offensively. I like a little bit what he did last night, so I'd like to see some more of that next week.
I think Malik Neighbors comes back, doesn't he? He's back this week.
I believe so.
Yes, so that's a good thing.
He got a lot of bad press. He went to a concert.
Yeah. Yes, well, that's good. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. We get Malik Neighbors back. Maybe we get Singletary back to kind of give Tracy a rest now and then. Listen. We beat them once at the end of the year, and that was the same basic team they have now. Right. And we should have won the first game if it wasn't for a non-call and a pass interference where he tackled the guy before the ball got there. We might have won that game too.
That's a good. I forgot all about that play. That's a good memory you got.
Yes. Me and the Philly sports guy go at it all the time. I told him he's lucky you didn't beat him twice. But yeah, listen, same team last year. Put pressure on Jalen Hurts, as everybody's finding out now. He has a problem. He gets rattled. So and more than other quarterbacks. And I think we win this week, Bobby. I really do. Last week I didn't think we would. This week I think we do. I think
spread is 3.5. We are underdog again, 3.5 underdog.
I like that. The only problem is we're home. And I told you before, I don't know what it is about being home, but this would be a nice win, and we put the Philly Eagles back in their place. So I want to get, before we go, I want your thoughts on tonight's game, Buffalo at the New York Jets. They're both 2-3. Head coach Salah's gone, Salah, whatever. the hell his name is. He's out. New head coach is in. Rodgers is running the team. He's going to – and the pressure is on him. And if he has a bad game, what do they do now? Do they fire Rodgers as a coach and bring in a real coach? I don't know. We'll find out. But Buffalo defensive backfield is one of the best in the league. They're like third rated. The Jets passing game is 29th in the league. Rodgers has more interceptions. He's got 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's let me see. Yeah, ranked 27th. Sorry, I don't want to take too much away from him. Josh Allen is the number 8th rated quarterback in the league right now. The defense right now is at number 20, but the defensive backfield is number 3. The Jets got to run the ball and run for first downs if they want to win this game. They can't depend on the old guy with the fur on his face that is hobbling on and off the field with a cane. They can't depend on him. They got to give the ball to the 2 talented running backs they got. If they don't, Buffalo wins this game, Bobby.
Yeah, and I gotta give you a shout out because you actually were a soothsayer. You had actually said the Jets may fire their coach or something along those lines just last week if things didn't turn around. Now, I don't know if you thought I was going to be fired. I don't know if you thought he was going to be fired as quick as he was, but you had mentioned that. So hats off to you for seeing that because I did not think, I did not think that Woody Johnson would change coaches midstream, especially, he claims, this is Woody Johnson saying this, he says this is the best Jets team he's ever had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think he spent too much time over there in England when the Jets were playing because I don't know. The thing about this, the shame about this, Bobby, is you took your defensive coach, you put him, as head coach. So now they need to promote somebody to defensive coordinator. The defensive head coach, who was a defensive coordinator, is now the head coach, has totally different responsibilities. So he's got to learn all that. The offensive coordinator, Hackett, is fired or let go or whatever they did with him, and they promote the same guy that Salah was going to promote that Rodgers got pissed off about and kind of gave him a shove in the game. I think that was for that because he knew it was coming. He tried to knock Salah down. It didn't work. Salah's too big for him. But the point is that Aaron Rodgers, they said everything is good with Aaron Rodgers. All these moves are good with him. Who cares if it's good with Aaron Rodgers? Oh. Nobody cares, but the Jets do. This is them. The Jets took all their marbles and put it in the middle of the table for an old quarterback that gets hurt. And, they're going to have to live and die with the situation. I hope they don't do what they did last week. Run, pick up 3 yards. Run, pick up 4 yards. Then 3rd down and 3 pass, and Rodgers incomplete pass. And then they got a punt. Hopefully they keep with the running game. They can beat Buffalo. You can run the ball on the Buffalo Bills. You can't pass too much on them, but you can run the ball on them. If they do that, Bobby, and continue to do that, they have a good chance of winning. But I have a feeling Aaron Rodgers ain't going to like that. He's going to want to throw the ball.
He's going to throw the ball. Yeah, I think the Bills win tonight. I think I don't know what the spread is, but I think the Bills will win tonight by, I'll say 10 points.
Yeah, they're favored by, let's see, 3 points. Yeah, they're favored by 3 points tonight. I think it's going to be very close. I think it's
so.
I don't know, maybe 20, maybe 26, 24, 23, 21. I mean, and it may not even be that high of a score. It might be a low score game. It might be, 16-10. I don't know.
I see something like 24-14.
All right. That's that. I wouldn't argue with you about that. It's very possible.
Something like that. I see that, I see the Bills getting in the end zone a few times more than the Jets do. I see them maybe running the ball like you said, but that's going to be time consuming and they might score 14 points and they might not, but I think it's a 24-14 game. That's I think the Bills will pull that out. 24-14.
I mean that's as good a prediction as any. Of course, my co-host Jack, for some reason, thinks the Jets are going to the playoffs, and I just laugh at him, in the morning.
Well, actually, they were supposed to be going to the playoffs.
Yes, they were, but
a lot of people picked them to go to the playoffs.
Folks, thanks for joining us on another edition of the Big Blues Brothers Show. We'll see you again next week, 5 p.m. Same Giants time, same Giants channel. Have a good time. Watch the game tonight. And